Phoebe Jensen had spent most of her life feeling invisible in her own family. While her stepbrother Mark was praised for every small success, Phoebe's achievements were always ignored. Her mother, Sandra, constantly called her dramatic whenever she spoke about her work or stood up for herself. Phoebe worked as a senior federal intelligence analyst, but she rarely talked about her job because much of it was classified. Her family believed she had a simple office position and often mocked her for being quiet and serious. At every family gathering, Mark became the center of attention. If he was late, everyone laughed it off. If Phoebe arrived late because of work, she was criticized. After years of being treated like she didn't matter, she stopped trying to explain herself. One night, everything changed. Around 4 in the morning, Phoebe heard noise coming from the kitchen. She found Mark drunk and looking for an argument. He mocked her career and repeated cruel things he had heard from their mother. Phoebe stayed calm and told him to go to bed. Instead, Mark grabbed a screwdriver from a toolbox and suddenly attacked her. The sharp metal pierced her shoulder, and she collapsed onto the kitchen floor. As blood soaked through her shirt, she heard her mother dismiss the attack. Insisting Phoebe had simply fallen, Phoebe was rushed to the hospital. When she woke up, her mother and stepfather were already waiting beside her bed. They calmly repeated the same story, claiming she had tripped over a toolbox and accidentally injured herself. They expected her to accept the lie and protect Mark. Phoebe listened quietly until they left. The moment the room was empty, she picked up her secure government phone and activated an official emergency distress protocol reserved for federal employees. Within hours, investigators arrived, along with legal representatives from her agency. The attack was documented in detail. Medical reports confirmed the wound was caused by a screwdriver. Blood evidence matched the weapon, and hospital staff recorded Phoebe's statement immediately after surgery. Soon, the case reached court. Mark's lawyer tried to dismiss everything as a simple family misunderstanding. He argued that Phoebe often exaggerated situations and even called her dramatic, repeating the same words her family had used against her for years. Phoebe remained silent while her attorney submitted official federal reports, emergency response records, medical evidence, and witness statements. As the judge read the sealed documents, the courtroom became completely silent. The report showed that Phoebe had activated a federal distress signal immediately after the assault. Emergency responders had found her bleeding on the kitchen floor. Medical evidence confirmed the injury was intentional, and toxicology reports showed Mark had been heavily intoxicated. The judge looked directly at Mark. He asked if Mark wanted to change his statement for the first time. Mark had no answer. Sandra tried to interrupt, insisting it was all a misunderstanding, but the judge stopped her immediately. Facts mattered more than excuses. After reviewing all the evidence, the judge granted Phoebe a permanent restraining order and referred the case for felony assault charges against Mark. The courtroom that had once doubted her was now completely silent. Mark was escorted away by court officers. Her mother called after her, begging her to stop, but Phoebe did not turn around. Outside the courthouse, colleagues from her agency quietly congratulated her. There were no dramatic speeches, only respect. A year later, Phoebe had been promoted to lead a federal threat analysis team. She had built a life surrounded by people who valued honesty instead of appearances. One morning, she received an email from her mother filled with apologies and excuses. Phoebe looked at the message for a moment before moving it into her archive without reading it. She had finally learned that forgiveness does not always require reconciliation. Some wounds leave scars, but those scars can become reminders of strength instead of pain. For years, her family had called her dramatic. In the end, she never needed to argue. She simply told the truth, and the evidence spoke louder than anyone ever could.